Ryan had always sensed that his family didn't believe in him. Not really. No matter how many milestones he reached, his achievements were always met with either skepticism or some flavor of quiet correction. In his family's eyes, he was still the youngest one who needed guidance, more specifically, control. That illusion of support had persisted for years, until it shattered on a seemingly regular Tuesday evening. The moment Ryan stepped into his apartment that night, he immediately sensed something was off. His living room was filled with familiar faces, his parents, two older brothers, and younger sister. They weren't visiting. They were waiting. The silence in the room was deliberate, suffocating. His mother was the first to speak, her tone measured like she was delivering a eulogy for the life he was currently living. She said they were all concerned and had agreed it was time to intervene. Before Ryan could even find words, his father slid a folder across the coffee table. Inside was a job offer for a position Ryan had never heard of, let alone applied for. His older brother added that they'd spoken to his landlord and initiated the cancellation of his lease. Ryan's mother chimed in with a smile, assuring him they'd placed a deposit on a new house closer to them. Then came the kicker. She had arranged a date with someone she deemed more suitable, a woman with a stable background from a respected family friend. He stood frozen by the door, trying to process the totality of what had been done to him. The room felt less like home and more like a tribunal. His entire life, job, living arrangements, relationship, had been deconstructed and replaced with their version of what he should want. No discussion. No consent. Just action. The final insult came when they revealed they had been tracking his finances. His father had adjusted his budget, believing Ryan's spending needed to be reined in. Ryan didn't even know what that meant exactly, but it didn't matter. The point was clear. They thought he couldn't manage his own life. At that exact moment, his girlfriend walked in. She froze when she heard the conversation about the better match. Her eyes flicked to Ryan, then to his family. "Did you know about this?" she asked, the hurt in her voice barely concealed. Before Ryan could respond, his mother cut in to assure her it was all done for the best. Ryan clenched his jaw, suppressing the fire building in his chest. He didn't want to explode, not in front of his girlfriend, not in a way that would make his family's condescension seem justified. He instead said what he needed to say with calm conviction. "You crossed a line." His mother looked as though she'd been slapped. His father folded his arms and shook his head in disappointment. His siblings looked away, silently siding with their parents. Without another word, Ryan grabbed his keys and left. The fallout began immediately. Messages piled up. Some were apologetic, others doubled down on the same justifications that it was all out of love. But the truth rang louder in Ryan's mind. It wasn't love. It was domination. 3 days later, his mother was at his door, weeping and begging to be let in. She said she'd wait all day if that's what it took. Against better judgment, he opened the door. She breezed past him like she still lived there and began assessing his apartment like it was a crime scene. She tearfully implored him to reconsider the new house, the job, the future they designed for him. She insisted he was throwing everything away. Ryan told her firmly, respectfully, finally, that she had to go. Within an hour, his father called, not to apologize, but to deliver an ultimatum: accept what had been arranged or consider this his last chance to make things right. The call ended with veiled threats and pointed disappointment. What came next wasn't just frustration. It was clarity. His parents had always seen him not as an adult, but as an extension of themselves, someone they could sculpt, manage, and override. They had crossed lines that couldn't be uncrossed. Ryan realized he had to draw new ones. The next morning, Ryan didn't go to work. He didn't sleep either. Instead, he sat at his kitchen table with a legal pad and a single objective: reclaim his life one call, one document, one breath at a time. The first call was to his landlord. "Yes, Mr. Simons," the leasing agent said, sounding rattled. "I assumed it was a coordinated move. You hadn't responded, and your father had the necessary information." Ryan interrupted gently but firmly. "I did not authorize anything. I still live here, and I have no intention of leaving." There was a pause. "I'll escalate it to management. Nothing will move forward without your direct signature from now on." "I'm sorry, truly." One fire contained. The second call was harder. The unsolicited job offer came from a mid-sized firm across town. He called HR, introduced himself, and calmly explained the situation. "I need to formally decline the offer," he said. "Also, for your records, I didn't apply for this position. I understand someone submitted on my behalf, likely under false pretenses." The woman on the other end gasped. "That's illegal," she muttered. I'll have to flag the application and speak with our legal team. I'm so sorry. So was Ryan. Sorry that the version of love his family subscribed to was so invasive it bordered on sabotage. By noon, he composed a message to his parents and siblings, a firm, non-negotiable request that all major decisions about his life cease immediately. It wasn't dramatic. It was boundaries. The reply from his father came just minutes later, sharp, laced with disappointment, and ending with, "If this is how you want to isolate yourself, that's your choice." But what his father called isolation, Ryan called breathing room. That afternoon, his girlfriend, Lauren, came over. She had been quiet since the ambush, not because she was angry at Ryan, but because she'd been blindsided too. They talked for hours about what happened, about what it meant, about whether their relationship had room for healing after being thrown into the middle of a power struggle she didn't ask for. "I need to know," she said, "that you see me, that your future is ours, not theirs." Ryan nodded, his throat tightening. "I do, and I'm done letting them decide it for me." They agreed to take it slow, but stay committed together. Later that night, Ryan installed a password manager, changed every login credential, and called his bank to ensure no external users had access to his accounts. His father had used financial oversight as justification, but Ryan wouldn't allow another inch of overreach. He also started journaling everything: times, dates, interactions, both in person and digital. Not because he planned to go to court, not yet, but because he wanted the truth on record. If his family escalated this into something more serious, he would have his story straight. The most unexpected help came from his cousin Mark, who messaged out of nowhere. "Heard what they did? I've been there. If you ever want to talk or compare notes." Ryan hadn't realized how many others might have been casualties of this same loving control. And for the first time in a long time, he felt something like relief. The following week was both quiet and tense, a strange limbo where Ryan waited for the next ripple to break the surface. He hadn't responded to any family messages since the firm boundary letter. Most were emotional blackmail. "We were just trying to help. You'll regret this distance." A few were manipulative apologies. The worst was from his mother. "It hurts to be punished for loving you too much." Ryan muted the family group chat but didn't delete it. He wanted the record. He noticed something strange at work. His supervisor, Clara, who had always been warm, had grown distant. Shorter emails. Passive-aggressive tone in meetings. At first, Ryan assumed it was stress. Then he got a text from Mark, his cousin again. "Heads up, Aunt Lydia's been calling around the family saying you're spiraling. Said you turned down a dream job and might be unstable." It hit Ryan like ice water. His own mother was planting the idea that he wasn't mentally sound, that maybe he couldn't be trusted with his own future. And worse, she was trying to extend that doubt into his professional world. He documented everything: screenshots, dates, notes. That night, Lauren stayed over. "What would it take for you to go no contact?" she asked. Ryan exhaled. "It's not just the interference. It's the story they're writing about me behind my back." Lauren nodded. "You know who you are. But I think it's time to make that truth louder than their fiction." So Ryan did something he never thought he would. He scheduled a meeting with a lawyer. Not because he planned to sue, yet, but because he needed clarity. He explained everything: the false job application, the lease interference, the emotional pressure, the social sabotage. The lawyer raised an eyebrow. "This borders on coercive control, especially if they're attempting to undermine your reputation or access your financials." They discussed options: restraining communication, cease and desist letters, even preemptive legal safeguards for his accounts and professional record. For the first time, Ryan felt like he wasn't reacting. He was planning. He also quietly reached out to his company's HR department, not to file a complaint, but to create a paper trail. "There's a personal situation affecting my reputation," he said. "If you hear anything unusual about me, I'd appreciate the chance to address it directly." Clara never admitted anything, but their next meeting felt different. Her tone softened. Something had changed. Later that week, Ryan found a handwritten note taped to his door. No envelope. No signature. Just 5 words. "You can still come back." He stood there reading it over and over until the ink blurred. That night, he added the note to his journal. Then he set up call forwarding for every family number to voicemail and removed them from his emergency contacts. Not revenge, just peace. Ryan knew the note wasn't random. It was a test, a breadcrumb designed to pull him back into the fold. For years, that tactic had worked. Family disapproval was the strongest gravity in his life. But this time, he let the note sit untouched on his desk, like a relic from another reality. The next morning, he and Lauren went out for coffee, and she brought it up first. I think they're trying to bait you into a reaction. Even a fight is still attention. He nodded. It's not a conversation anymore. It's a boundary enforcement plan. Lauren smiled, proud but cautious. Then let's talk about us. They walked for hours. It was the first real conversation they'd had about their future since the incident. They discussed how her trust had been shaken, not by him, but by the chaos that surrounded him. They agreed to start couples counseling, not because they were broken, but because they didn't want to be. By the end of that weekend, Ryan had taken more steps. He contacted a cybersecurity consultant to sweep his devices, checked for spyware, and even ran audits on his email logins. It wasn't paranoia, it was precaution. Then, Monday morning came with a shock. His work inbox had a new message flagged urgent, forwarded from HR. Mr. Simons, we received a voicemail over the weekend from a woman identifying as your mother. She expressed concerns about your recent behavior, including allegations of instability, absenteeism, and emotional volatility. We are required to document the call and notify you. We are not taking any further action unless this becomes a workplace issue. Ryan felt like the floor dropped beneath him. This wasn't just passive sabotage. It was a campaign. He called his lawyer and forwarded the message. This isn't legal action yet, Ryan said, but I want it on record. That night, he went deeper into his documentation, organizing a cloud folder, scanning the note, compiling texts, voicemails, timestamps. It wasn't just about keeping score anymore. It was about protecting himself in the long term. Lauren helped him scan files. They don't know how close they are to losing you forever, she said. Ryan looked at her. They already have. They just haven't accepted it. Ryan didn't sleep well that night. His brain replayed every voicemail, every word from that HR email. Even in silence, his mind constructed counterarguments, imaginary confrontations, and what-ifs. He wasn't just defending against sabotage. He was grieving a family that couldn't love without control. By morning, his inbox held another surprise, a message from his father. Unlike the earlier dramatic notes, this one was short and cold. We need to speak. Face to face. No more lawyers, no more silence. Ryan didn't respond. He forwarded it to his lawyer and journaled instead. At lunch, Clara from HR invited him for coffee. She didn't reference the voicemail again, but she asked about his weekend. When he mentioned that he'd met with legal counsel for personal reasons, she didn't flinch. Thanks for letting us know, she said. If anything professional ever overlaps, I'll make sure you're the first to hear about it. It was subtle solidarity, and it mattered. Lauren and Ryan started couples therapy that Thursday. Their therapist, Tanya, listened as Lauren shared her fears. I felt like I was dating someone in a vacuum. His family had built this invisible system around him, and it was leaking into our home. Ryan didn't get defensive. Instead, he said, that's exactly how it felt from the inside. Later, they talked about boundaries, not just with the family, but with trauma itself. How many times could a person forgive an apology that was only meant to reset control? That weekend, Ryan received an alert from his credit monitoring app. Someone had attempted to open a store card in his name. It was declined due to incomplete application info, but the address listed matched his parents' home. That was the line. He sat down and drafted a cease and desist letter with his lawyer. No more indirect sabotage. No more room for interpretation. It was time to name the behavior, protect the perimeter, and signal that he wasn't afraid anymore. As he hit send, a strange calm washed over him. Not joy, not relief, just clarity. They weren't helping. They were undoing. And he was done being undone. The week after sending the cease and desist felt like breathing through static. Ryan functioned. He worked, he slept, he ate, but everything carried a charge. He checked his mailbox 3 times a day. Every unknown number made his heart race. Lauren started using a shared calendar, syncing therapy sessions, work travel, even downtime. We need rhythm, she said. Otherwise, this chaos wins. Ryan agreed. It wasn't just about defending his space, it was about rebuilding it. And that meant not just reacting to the family's behavior, but building habits that didn't revolve around trauma response. On Wednesday, Ryan got a voicemail from a blocked number. I hope you're proud of yourself, the voice hissed. His mother. We were trying to help. You've embarrassed us. If you go through with this lawsuit, you'll be dead to us. Don't think we won't tell everyone what you've done. Ryan played it once, then again with his lawyer on speaker. She's inching toward defamation, his lawyer said. This is escalating into a harassment case. Ryan filed a police report, not because he expected immediate action, but to create an official paper trail. He added the voicemail to the growing folder of evidence. Later that day, Lauren surprised him. She had booked a weekend away, just the two of them, no phones, no screens. We're pausing the fire drill, she said. It was the first time in weeks Ryan felt air in his lungs that didn't carry smoke. They stayed in a small cabin outside the city. Hiked, cooked together, sat by a fire, and talked, not about his family, but about their future. Lauren said something that stayed with him. You don't owe anyone who treats you like a project. When they returned Sunday night, Ryan found an envelope shoved under his door. Inside was a photocopy of a childhood picture, him and his mother at a science fair. No note, just the photo. This time, Ryan didn't scan it. He didn't add it to the legal folder. He walked to the trash and dropped it in. This is who I was, he whispered. Not who I need to be again. That evening, Ryan and Lauren reviewed their next steps. Lauren, calm but firm, suggested something that had been quietly forming in Ryan's mind as well. I think we need to move, she said. Not just for safety, but for sanity. Ryan blinked. You do that? For me. For us, she replied. The idea of your family knowing where we sleep, it's suffocating. They started house hunting casually at first. Lauren made a spreadsheet. Ryan set up alerts. A new place wouldn't fix everything, but it symbolized something permanent, a conscious break, a reset button that wasn't about running, but about choosing. That night, Lauren asked if she could read Ryan's journal, the one he'd been keeping to process everything. He hesitated for a moment. His family had used his vulnerability as ammunition. But Lauren wasn't them. He handed it over. An hour later, she came back, ice glassy. This, she said, holding up the journal, isn't just venting. It's healing. It's proof. He didn't realize how much he needed to hear that. The next day, Ryan received an email from an old college friend, Mark. Hey, heard you're going through something heavy. Not sure if you want to talk, but if you do, I'm here. Lauren had reached out on his behalf, worried he'd shrink into solitude. Ryan replied. They met for lunch that Friday. Mark, who knew him before the family drama got so loud, was grounding. You always thought you had to fix everyone, he said over coffee. It's okay to just fix yourself now. It wasn't about isolating. It was about rebuilding a new constellation of people who saw him as whole rather than broken. Back at home, Ryan went through his contact list. He blocked his mother, then his father, then a few extended family members who had echoed the guilt campaign. Each click was heavy, but each click was also freedom. Lauren found him standing at the window afterward. You okay? He nodded. I think I finally believe I get to choose my peace. Ryan stood outside the townhouse on Oakwood Lane, key in hand, sunlight splintering through trees overhead. This was his. No forwarding address. No parental backup plan. Just a lease in his name, a place he and Lauren had chosen together. No one could undo it. And more importantly, no one had the right to try. The realtor had barely left when Lauren pulled out a small box. Inside were 2 mugs, mismatched and slightly chipped. These came from the first apartment I lived in alone, she said. I always promised I'd use them the day I felt safe again. They drank coffee on moving boxes that afternoon. 3 days later, Ryan got the email from his lawyer. The family hadn't responded to the cease and desist formally, but the unauthorized credit pull stopped, and his father's vague social media threats had gone quiet. It wasn't resolution, but it was retreat. More surprising was the voicemail from his sister. Haley hadn't spoken up during the worst of it, but her message was hesitant. Careful. I don't know what's happening between you and Mom and Dad, but I'm sorry. I miss you. I hope you're okay. Ryan saved the message. He didn't return the call. In therapy, he talked about why. I don't need a lifeline from someone who watched me drown, he said. Lauren nodded. Instead, Ryan poured himself into building routines. Morning walks, cooking, checking in with Mark and Clara. Every small interaction felt like a vote toward the life he wanted. One night, Lauren asked, Do you ever think you'll go back? Ryan didn't answer right away. Finally, he said, I don't think I ever left. They left me. I'm just finally choosing not to follow. They decided to print his journal, hundreds of entries chronicling the manipulation, the betrayals, and ultimately, the rebuilding. They titled it, Unwritten Consent. A lawyer friend agreed to advise him on publishing anonymously through a survivor-led collective. Ryan wasn't interested in revenge, but he was interested in truth. He uploaded the draft, hit submit, and let go. The journal's quiet release stirred something in Ryan he hadn't expected: community. Within days, emails trickled in, readers sharing stories of meddling parents, overreach disguised as love, and long overdue boundaries. One message stood out. "Thank you. I thought I was ungrateful. Turns out, I was just trying to breathe." Ryan forwarded it to Lauren with a simple note: "We weren't alone." His old workplace offered him a promotion, something he hadn't dared consider while the chaos was fresh. Clara, always tactful, simply said, "You earned this. On your own." Ryan accepted it, not to prove anything, but because he believed it. Then, one afternoon, Haley texted again. "I read it. I didn't know how bad it was. I should have said something sooner." This time, Ryan responded, "Thank you. I'm not ready to reconnect, but I hear you." He meant it. Forgiveness wasn't a switch. It was a gate, and Ryan was learning he held the key. Not out of cruelty, but out of care. For himself. The new home took shape slowly. A bookshelf from a garage sale. A couch from a friend. Paint swatches debated over dinner. One night, Lauren turned to him on the porch. "You know," she said, "you're not broken." Ryan looked at her, startled. She smiled. "You were betrayed, and you survived." That night, he added a final journal entry. "My family didn't fix my life. They tried to rewrite it, but I took the pen back." He didn't cry. He didn't rage. He closed the journal, turned out the light, and fell asleep in the home he chose. It wasn't peace by default. It was peace by design.